Hello, guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Ah, what a week. Have y'all had a busy week? Mine has been a little cray-cray. Let me just say that. I'm gonna move that out of the way before I spill it. Yeah, it's been a crazy first week of July. How about y'all? Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Let me know. I'm going to write these down real quick while I'm looking at them. But Henriette on Facebook and Beverly, I always get your name wrong, but I'm going to try. Sisiliski on YouTube. You were the first to comment. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget. Anyway, you two email me or message me on Facebook and let me know what ePackets you want. And I will shoot that off to you in an email. All right. So good to see you guys on. Hi, Letitia and Bonnie and Debbie and Ann and Elizabeth and Brenda. Hopefully you guys, again, can hear me well. Oh, thank you, Cindy. I figured since we were doing something a little summery, I would wear something summery, right? So hi, Ann and Paula and Peg and Jan and Monty. Good to see you guys on. We'll try to watch for a while as we travel back home from Florida. I saw that, Cindy. Safe travels, especially if you're going up I-75, because hello, I'm right off I-75, and let me just say it's crazy all the time. So, but I'm back home for a week, so thought I'd join in. Well, Carol, I'm so glad that you did. Just got it, Bonnie. I just printed it off. We'll get that shipped to you tomorrow. So, hi, Melina. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Janet. And Robin. So many over on YouTube and on Facebook. So, excited to see you guys on. Thanks for being here. It is, wow, the 10th of July. Can you guys believe that? So after a first full week of July, was going to come on last Sunday, but when your boys message and say they're coming home, sorry. I know you moms out there and dads out there will get it, but you kind of drop everything. So I hated not being with you guys last Sunday, but at the same time, it was amazing to be with our two sons of our three, and a girlfriend, so Liz, who we adore. And it was nice to just chill and be with them and play games and cook out and all that other fun stuff that you do on 4th of July. So, oh, Beverly, you're so welcome. And Henriette, you're so welcome. You guys just message me and let me know. So we have giveaways. We have giveaways from the last live I did, which was styling. I have to tell you guys, if you've not used the styling paint or you've not seen that video, go watch it. They are amazing paints. Okay, just amazing. And I have mine set aside that I'm going to do the name for, and I have my other giveaways here. I'm trying to find if what I did with my little notepad so I can write those down. Literally, oh, there it is. Just had it. And I have them written down. I want to, again, Henriette, Beverly, message me. Those ePackets will be off to you. But the styling paint, absolutely amazing. And if you didn't see that, please go on over and look at that video on YouTube on my Sandy McTeer Designs page. And if you've not gotten it, DecoArt has it. It's amazing paint. It can transform and change things. I shared a pair of boots for my friends in Madrid, Spain, who took a pair of brown, scuffed up, ugly boots that were worn and torn and well worn, I should say, and turned them into a beautiful new pair of boots, you know? I mean, if the parts are all there and everything's still working for your shoe, it's just kind of scuffed up, then why not use those? So Anyhow. Oh, you're so welcome. Hi, Laura. All right, guys. Hello, Carol. Excited to see you on YouTube. Totally understand. Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Peg. Yeah, it's hard because I always dislike, I was going to say hate, but trying to work on that word. I dislike having to change things and when I have a schedule. So I did change. You can see I'm missing some things on the wall. I've had a water leak in my studio, and so we have a guy coming out that has fixed my old doggy door, and he'll be back tomorrow. So everything you see behind me, I put back up just for today. But I did change out my little sign there. Can you tell? And I want to know for next week, next Sunday, what do you think my sign should say? So drop me a quote or a favorite arty creative thing that you like, and we'll see whose I put up, and that person will get a free ePacket. Okay, so you can just message it here in the comments, and I will look through those. Oh no, water, right? Same here. So yeah, a pretty nasty water leak from an old doggy door. And my dog passed away like 2-3 years ago, and he was a small little dachshund, and I told my husband, I don't know that, we'll ever get another small dog. And even if we do, it is not in a great place because my studio wasn't in here when we put the doggy door in. So the doggy door is gone from the outside of the house, and the inside work needs to be done. So he's coming back tomorrow. Everything will be removed off the wall and out of the way. So I have a membership group, and we have a lesson tomorrow night. Not sure if it's going to be up tomorrow night when you guys join me for painting. So hello, guys. Hello. So if you missed last week, like I mentioned, hello, Marco. Oh my gosh, I saw your Instagram story. I almost messaged you. Too funny. And yes, we need downtime and self-care, right? So a bubble bath always does it for me. So those boots were awesome, right, Anne? Amazing. And I know that Deb Antonick has done like a brown pair of boots and changed the color. Either they were black and she changed them to brown, or they were brown and she changed them to black. I can't remember. So, okay, who's hitting the mad face? Watch the little emoji when you guys are hitting those. The mad faces are flying up. So anywho's, I'm going to move that out of the way. And I have to find, you guys talk amongst yourselves real quick, because I have to find something real quick that I don't have here. I have to get my original piece for today. Hello, how's that? So let me just step away for a second. Hello. All right, so I'm back, and I have hubby looking for my my original. I'm going to let's see. I'm going to pop this up real quick and talk to you guys. So if you're, can you read that on my screen? It's looking a little weird, but yeah, that's looking like a little distorted, which is kind of crazy. But these are ways that you can keep connected with me. I've had people message and say, how do I find out about your lives? Well, if you were on my Sandy McTeer Designs Facebook page and you like the page, make sure that you hit the follow button. The follow button is going to give you notifications of when I'm going live. On YouTube, if you're watching me on YouTube, click that little bell. That little bell is a notification that will send a notification, either email or however you have your notifications set up. And those will come to you so that you know when I go live or when I have a new lesson or video on YouTube, okay? So my membership group, Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on that bird app that I never use. I never tweet. Do you guys tweet? So let me move these out of the way. Okay, he found it. He found it. So he found it. Thank you, darling. So I don't know why I just completely hosed. I have my sample here, but completely hosed getting my original piece there. So I love the leopard shoes you were changing. Right, I cannot wait, Debbie, to wear those. I think I'm going to bring them to Vegas next month. So if you are going to the Society of Decorative Painters 50th convention celebration, I think I'm going to wear those leopard shoes there. They were super cool. So that's the spring one. Oh, did I put the spring one up? This is the spring one. And that's the summer one. Okay. So if you're in my membership group, the spring one is under guides, the ePacket and everything. Okay. So I did a stacked teacups years ago, and kind of revamped it, reworked it, used the same line drawing, but changed it to a spring. And I did that in my membership group first. And every single time, if I do something based on a lesson with my group, so the spring stacked teacups were a lesson in my group, they get the ePacket for free. Just a perk of being part of my group. So thank you. I guess I held up the wrong one. Yeah. So I had them both here. You brought it to me and I had the spring one there. Hello. Hey, Lori. Lori, thank you for the stars. Oh, thank you. So on Facebook, if you guys aren't familiar with the stars, at the bottom where you can comment, there's like a little happy face and whatnot. And in that little box, there's stars and you can send stars. All the money goes to the World Central Kitchen that feeds people around the world in dire need. And that does not discount what needs to be done in this country. And they have done amazing things in this country, especially during the pandemic. So last live, I got to share with you guys $567 that you guys gave in stars that I get to give to the World Central Kitchen. Hello. That's amazing, right? Yay, you guys. I know, right? Yay, Lori. Lucy just said. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera down. Like I said, we do have some giveaways. I'm not sure if my camera, let's see. There, the lighting's a little off. Like I said, I had to move, like my lighting is all out of place. My whole background was nothing until this morning. And then I have to take it all down when I'm done. So I will adjust the light as I need to, but I do want to do the giveaways from the last live that we had and announce those winners. And then I have some giveaways for this week. Now, to enter my giveaways, all you need to do is like, comment, and share. Share with your creative friends. If you share to a group, make sure that you're allowed to share it to that group. Don't want you to get in trouble, okay? So I'm going to move that out of the way. Lost you. Oh, Henriette, I'm still here. So I don't know. I hope you come back. Are you guys seeing me? Because someone just said they lost me. I see me on the computer. Someone has sad faces and those mad emojis, those little mad emojis are popping up. Let me know. I'm going to switch down right here. All righty. Refresh. Glad you're back. Thank you, Henriette. Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. So let me move that. All right. So you know what? I forgot one thing. I forgot two things, actually. So what I want to do on the lives, again, I always share with you guys when I get happy mail. And behind me, let's see if I move the right way. Behind me, I have all of the new DecoArt colors. Now, I've had them. I just got another set in, so I'm going to be playing around with those and sharing the colors and some ideas and things to think about as far as like shading and highlights, things for the colors that they released. But I got Happy Mail, the colors. I got the new Traditions, which are now in the 2-ounce bottles, which I love. I'm so glad that they're not in the tube any longer. And then today in the mail, the FedEx guy pulled up, and I got these gorgeous, hello, butterflies and dragonflies are like my thing. So I got these beautiful leggings. Hopefully they'll fit. I think they will. They'll be stretched out a little. But I got these beautiful leggings from Tracy Moreau. And then along with that came this gorgeous shirt. It's kind of like a butterfly. It's really big, like long, big. Butterfly shirt that kind of wings out on the ends. So thank you, Tracy. I cannot wait to wear it. I was going to wear it today, actually. And I thought, well, then I'd have to stand up and like move my camera to show you my pants. So got those. And then my dear sweet friend, Chris Savola, she's in my membership group. She's one of my moderators along with Molly Ann and Lana, but she had this stash. So do I have it up? I don't. I took it down. I have some collage pieces that I did with my membership group last month. And then I also shared it with you guys on several of the lives. And one of the things was using things that you have, broken jewelry, discarded items, go through your stash of wood and things like that that you could use in creating. And she had this big, huge stash that she shared with the membership group and said, if you want them, let me know and I'll mail them to you. She didn't ask for any payment, anything. And I got in the mail, Chris, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love all these beautiful pearl pieces and necklaces and earrings, and I cannot wait to create with them. So I was so thrilled when I saw that because I forgot to message and let you know I wanted some. So before we get on, let's see if I have it here or if I have it in this one. I know I shared this with you guys before, and it has been put in the comments on several of my lives, but I want to share it with you again because this is my new favorite. So every live I'm going to have like my newest favorite thing. This is it right here. Let's see if I can turn that. Nope, wrong way. Right there. Okay, so it is a Deli Mate. Let's turn that right side up. Hello. It is a Deli Mate U, the letter U, 104. It is a permanent marker, double-ended. I use it in my art journal. I've used it on my art. You can paint over it and it not bleed on paper, on wood, and you can also write on top of paint. So that's dry, of course. My new favorite. So go check that out. I got it on Amazon. I might have them on my website soon. Haven't decided. So, all right, the new colors are so, I agree, Pat. I love the new colors. They're kind of along the very trendy boho, but earthy and neutral. And let's see, my favorites are, where is that? Okay. So Sprout reminds me of like chartreuse that was out a few years ago. Beautiful color. Love this color. So Lush Green, I would say that is similar to Antique Green, but different. And so I plan to brush them out side by side to see, because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that color. Now, when you guys get colors, let's see if we have one here. Those all have writing on the bottom. But when you get a color, do you brush it out, or do you just get the color and put it on your shelf with your paints? And if that's the case, I'm going to highly recommend that you brush it out, because unless you know what the color looks like, sometimes there's a little circle on the top, or you can look at the bottle. There's nothing like brushing out the color. Okay, like to see the true color and value as you thin it out. So Fuchsia Pop and Blue Raspberry are like my two new favorites. They're just beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors. And I don't know if they did anything different this time, but to me, they seem a little bit more pigmented. Like the color seems really there, you know, like a, did you have that? Did you hear that? The last time I checked, Amazon's not able to supply the Deli Mate pens to Canada. Well, Brenda, then that just means I probably need to carry them, right? Because, you know, I ship to Canada and all over the world. So I wasn't planning to, but I thought about it. So we'll see. We will see. All right, you got yours ordered, right? Because I shared them in my membership group before I shared them with anywhere else, and then also with my friends when I was just in Buffalo, New York. So, all righty. I swatch colors. Always want to see, again, Henriette, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. When you get the paint, brush it out. Don't just stick it on the shelf. Brush it out and see what it can do. Someone just asked for the pen name again. So Pat, it is Deli Mate. Maybe someone will pop that in the comments that has ordered them before, but it is Deli Mate and it's U104. Deli Mate U104. Okay, great, great pen. I've always loved Identipens, but it's been hard to get them. And I've been a little disappointed with the fine tip. I've not had one problem with those, not one. They have lasted and they have done really, really well for the way I use them. So, hi, Melissa. Okay, now let's go down. You're so welcome, Pat. Okay, so for the last giveaways, last month, we had this big stencil. And that stencil goes to, that stencil goes to Melody McAvoy. Melody McAvoy. So, Melody, I have your information. I'm trying to find my pen there. And you will get that in the mail this week, okay? I just forgot to write down something. And then, let's put that out of the way. The brushes. So we have an angle brush, 2 angle brushes there, a round brush. That one, I believe, is a liner, and then a stencil brush. And the brushes go to Cheryl McDonald. So Cheryl, I will get those off to you, and I have your information because I will just pop it into your order that you have. So put those out of the way. And speaking of, I have a promotion going on right now. Oop, I just showed who got them. Doggone it. I have a promotion going on right now on my website. 20% off everything, including sale items. And all you have to do is put in the discount code HAPPY, HAPPY, all capitals. Okay, and I already showed her name, but for the stamps and the stamp set, and this one has, I'm not sure where there's a die cut set that goes with it. And that is to D. Gatz. Okay, so D, I have your information as well. I will get that off to you. And then the Stylin' Paint, which I did not pull, but the Stylin' Paint, Madeline Corsini. So I will get that off. I have your information as well. You've got an order going out, so I will pop that into your order and send that out to you. All right. Now, giveaways for this week. Again, all you have to do is like, comment, share. And so the first giveaway I have is for 2 Stampendous stamps. These are Zentastic, and that one is Floral Wings. Now, when you get a stamp like this, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do with that? You can tape off pieces and parts. Think of it like a line drawing. That's all it is. It's a line drawing. So, first person, set of Stampendous stamps. And then I hardly ever, I shouldn't say never, but I hardly ever give these away because they are a little bit more expensive. But I had an extra one of these and I thought, oh, I'll just use that as a giveaway. So this is the Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz, etc. stamp, and I love everything about this stamp set. So it retails for like $29. I have it on my website, cheaper than that, and then also the discount. And if you use the promo code HAPPY, all capitals, then you can get a discount on anything on my website until midnight tonight. So another lucky person will win those. And then I have a couple of the Crafters Workshop. So the Crafters Workshop, Jamie, who has that up in New York, amazing lady, and creates the most amazing stencils, and then also has artists that create stencils for her. So like Julie Faith Van Balzer, one of my favorite creatives, creators, I should say. So one of those. This one is really pretty. This is Petal Splash, and then a color wheel. So another winner will get those. Done, shared, liked, and commented. Thank you so much. And Robin, thank you so much for putting that link in the comments for me. Hello, Molly Ann. Hello, hello. All right, so we are going to get started. So again, this is summer tea, and I really do need to adjust my light. So give me just a second to see if turning this blinds. I have a window right beside me, but I had to take my curtains down because the guy can't get to my water damage unless I removed them. So we are going to see what we can do about this light to make it a little bit better. Let's see if that helps. Hopefully so. Okay. So summer tea. Summer tea. The first in this series, of course, was my spring tea packet. Again, that's available on my website. And then the summer tea, I use the same exact background. So when you go to YouTube or here on my Sandy McTeer Designs page, you can watch how I did the background. I'm not going to do the background today. It's not necessary since you've seen me, or you can go watch how I did it. I used the same stencils, the same stamp in the background on the summer and on the spring. What I did differently for the summer tea was I used the same background stencil, which is a CD wood stencil. Let me see if I have that. So this is the surface I'm using. That's a CD wood covered distributing surface. And I used that, I'm going to use that for all of my stacked teacups, which they're going to be 4, okay? And then let me see if I have on here, probably not. Nope, I don't think so. I thought maybe I had the link for this, but it is the Brocade Elegance Collage Stencil, again from CD Wood. And I used that on the cup, all right? So, let me move this out of the way. So when you get an ePacket from me, let me just remind you guys, when you get an ePacket from me, it's step-by-step pictures, step-by-step instructions. Hi, Mona. Good to see you guys on. And it will come in an email from a company called WeTransfer. Okay, step-by-step pictures that are close up. When you get that, you need to check your spam folder or your junk folder. So if you're not seeing it in your junk folder, or excuse me, in your inbox, check your junk folder. All right, it will be there. So I don't know what all that stuff is. That's from the other day. But you'll get a line drawing for the design, and then again, step-by-step instructions, okay? So let's get to here. I shared with you guys on the last live that we did on styling that, hold on, let's move that I had base coated and prepped some of the piece for today. And the cups are done with Bahama Blue. So the blue is Bahama Blue, one of my favorite deco art colors. And then the green I did with Hauser Light Green. I always say Hauser Green Light, not sure why. Thank you guys. And Molly Ann just put the link for the that brocade elegance stencil in the comments. Thank you guys so much for doing that. I greatly appreciate it. All right, wonderful. So the green again is that Hauser Light Green. The flower that I did here is Orange Flame, Joyful Pink. The yellow Gerber, I want to say I did Warm White and Sunny Day. In fact, I know I did. Bright Orange and Sunny Day. I said the wrong color. And then Joyful Pink and a touch, just a touch of Warm White. It'll make it more opaque. All right. The leaves, Antique Green. All right. So let's move this to the side. We'll see how much of this we can get through today. So I have two different stencils that I'm using. Again, that background stencil, that Elegance Brocade that Molly Ann put the link in for. Hello, Cindy. Glad you're here. And Pat, thank you so much for sharing, liking, and commenting and all the above. And then the other stencil I used was on this blue cup. I wanted to use something a little different than like the Flourish stencil, which I use all the time. And I used this petal display. This is the Crafters Workshop. I have it on my website. And I just love it. I love how versatile it is. And what I, again, want you guys to remember is that when you use a stencil, you don't have to use the whole thing. You can use pieces and parts, okay? So I just used that little piece right there for that area, and then that little piece for that area, all right? So it makes creating fun when you use stencils and stamps and stuff that can help you create a little bit faster, but then also add interest and design to your piece, right? So, Linda, thank you so much. And I don't know if you saw it yet, but I did email you the ePacket. So thank you so very much. Molly Ann, you're just the best. I appreciate you sharing those. Okay, so we are going to get started with our stenciling first. Okay, so I'm going to put out a little bit of peacock teal. All right, and we will get those blue saucers and cups done. So peacock teal, and then I'm also going to put out a little bit of Bahama Blue. Okay. Oops, what's that right there? Oop, let's get rid of that. That just came right off the end of that bottle. We don't want any of that in there. Okay. And then a stencil brush. So I'm going to use my favorite. This is a Dynasty 5/8 stencil, or I also like to use the 1/2" stencil. When you're using, like, you just want a small little area, a 3/8 Stencil Pro brush works great as well. So I'm going to use this for the dark color, and then I'll go into the light color with the bigger one. So let me zoom in just so you can see just the cups and saucers right there. Alrighty, so I want to load up this brush. Hopefully you can see my palette there. I'm going to load up this 3/8 angle, swirl it into that brush, wipe it off. Okay, and again, kind of line up where you, I need to put my original somewhere so I can see what I did. So I'm going to put that one probably about there. I can still see my line drawing. Now, when it comes to going outside, because you can see through the stencil, hopefully you won't go beyond the stencil, but you can always tape it. You can use sticky notes, you can use paper towels. I would suggest something very thin, even Scotch tape, okay? So what I want to do first is I'm going to soft circular motion, soft, soft, soft. So loaded up the brush, wiped almost all of it off. And it's soft circular motion. Not really worried about the saucer right now, concentrating on that cup. All right. And then anywhere it goes outside, if you take your finger, because it's like a dusting of color, you should be able to get rid of it. If not, a little baby wipe will work just fine. So I'm loving that on there. And then we'll come up here and put a little bit of this. Again, if you get on the flowers, no big deal. We're going to put paint on top of them anyway. So soft circular motion. I didn't reload my brush. It's got enough paint on there. All right. So you have that stencil. I love this stencil. So what we want to do now is we're going to, I'm going to take a baby wipe. Let's just get that. And let's put it here. I get asked this all the time. How do you wash them? I normally wouldn't wash it off right now, but I do want to show you because it was dirty when I started. You can take a little hand sanitizer, and if it is a stencil like this that doesn't have a lot of delicate pieces to it that could snag, you can use a baby wipe, or you could simply take your brush and use your brush and clean your brush and your stencil at the same time. Okay. And then you just want to wipe that up. So I'm not going to sit there and try and get all that off right now because I want to use that stencil again. But just to let you see, I usually will give my stencils a bath and just put them all in, not warm water, I would say warm to cool water, not hot water. And then scrub them down with hand sanitizer if there's a paint on there or medium on there that won't come off. So let's dry that nicely. No, don't have that one. I have the CD wood. Oh, okay. Yeah, those collage stencils are amazing. And if you guys are looking for those, I know this has a description of something, but if you're looking for like this stencil here, I know Molly Ann put it in the links as well. The collage stencils, you can get them on cdwood.com. And then also Tracy Moreau has them now on her website. So make sure to check that out. There's her website. And that's dry. We want to make sure it's dry and good to go. Now, when cleaning between colors, hand sanitizer is going to evaporate. So that's much better to use than water. And then I just want to take my paper towel here and just really wipe off as much as I can. All right. But you don't want to use water with your Stencil Brush Pro because we don't want it to bleed everywhere. So now let's line this back up. I'm just going to look here real quick. Sunset Gold's a great color. Agree. I'm just blown away with all the colors for the new 2022 colors in DecoArt. So I'm going to line it back up. Now I want to shift it. So I'm going to shift it to the left just a little. Okay. Load it up with Bahama Blue. Swirl it around. And if you want it a little bit lighter, you can always do a little bit of warm white with it. If you want it to be even more subtle, leave the peacock teal in it, add a little bit of Bahama Blue, and you'll get a different color as well. Now what I want to see, there's a difference, but I'm going to make that a little bit lighter because camera sometimes doesn't show up that color. So I'm going to do a little bit of warm white with that peacock excuse me, with that Bahama Blue. Wipe it off. I didn't do that on my original, but you definitely can to make it show up more. Soft circular motions. Now you get that doubled stencil look. So there's a little bit of a shadow and then your color. I mean, how amazing is that? Again, I wouldn't want to have to paint that and then, you know, shade it. So a stencil just makes it much easier. Line up that stencil. We're going to shift it to the right. And soft circular motions. What I was telling my husband this morning as I was getting everything kind of put together and my studio back in order, and I was like, I've painted that like so long ago. I hope I remember how to paint it. So if you got the ePacket and you're like, that's not what it says on the ePacket, just roll with it. Roll with it. You can do both. Alrighty, so I got those out. Now what I need to do is add a little bit of a design to that top saucer. So I'm just going to go back to a little bit of that peacock teal. Double stencil, right? It does. It gives it a great 3D look, and it's just super simple to do. So I'm going to just line that up. And this saucer has so much going on already that I can just put a little bit of that design right along there. And then where I lined it up, I'm going to shift it again to that left. Oops, is that where I had it? Yep, that's where I had it. Right there. I'm going to shift it to the left, pick up a little bit of that Bahama Blue, swirl over it. There we go. So see right there where I went outside the saucer. I can just take my baby white and get rid of that. Also, do I have one here? I do. So these little erasers, you can get it wet. I think I got this one from Lana Lamb on her website, and it will help take away any unwanted paint. Just a little bit of water on there. All right. So we've got our stencil on our blue, and now let's do the stenciling on the green. Again, like on my spring, I wanted to incorporate pieces and parts of the background stencil into my design. So I'm going to use parts of this. Let's see, maybe there. And we want to get out on our palette some plantation pine. Q-tips work great as an eraser. Absolutely, Vicki, great tip. And if you get the Q-tip just a little bit wet or with a little bit of hand sanitizer, it works great too. Thank you, Molly Ann, for putting that in. She popped that link up. Especially if you're in Canada and you want to order those stencils. Let's see. Those collage stencils, you can get them on Tracy's site. She popped that link in the comments for us. So I'm just going to wipe this stencil brush off really, really well. That green, oop, my thing is shaking. That green's darker than the blue, so it's going to take over. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of plantation pine, work that in, swipe it off on my paper towel, and I think I'll turn this slightly. Soft circular motion, trying to stay within that green cup as much as I can, because I could tape it off, but I'm not gonna. Okay, and so let's line that back up. And if you're afraid you're not gonna be able to line it back up, just lift it up and see if you need to go anywhere else. Sometimes it's a little tricky to line everything back up, but let me wipe this off really, really well. Oh, and Molly Ann popped Lana Lamb's in there too. Thank you so much, Molly Ann. I appreciate that. The other thing with questions, guys, if I miss a question, I will go back and answer those. It's a little difficult to look at all the questions as I'm painting and doing this. So just know that I will go back and answer questions for you, okay? So I'm going to get a little bit more of that off. Alrighty. And then some Hauser Light Green. Let's load that up. So I didn't wash it out or anything. I still have some plantation pine in there, but we'll pick up some Hauser Light Green, and I am going to pick up just a touch of that warm white. Again, mostly just for the camera so that it shows up more. And then I want to shift it. If you shift it to the left or the right, just do it for both stencils. So if you want to shift it to the right, shift it to the right. I just decided to shift mine to the left. And then soft circular motions. Okay, to get that to show up. I didn't do anything on that saucer because you're not going to see it. I mean, it's just so, you know, a little sliver of what you can see. But again, a baby wipe. Be able to take some of that green away. And I also have shading there. So again, not too fussed about it. Not too fussed. All right. Same thing on those petals. You can get some of it off, but don't worry about it if you don't. My summer and the word tea, we're done with warm white. And let's move that out of the way. Our stencils we are done with, so we're going to move that out of the way. Funny thing is, I did the stencil, could not find it anywhere in my studio. This was weeks ago, and decided I have got to purge, get rid of some things. So I've been going through my studio, getting rid of some things, and I found it, lo and behold, between two pieces of paper, like I ever would have seen that. Right? All right, so let's take care of these, the shading and stuff on our saucer. I'm going to use an angle brush. My favorite are the Black Gold by Dynasty 3/8 angle. Get that wet. Little bit of water on it. Just kind of tap that off on our paper towel. And then let's see if I have that color right here, which I normally do. Yep, I do. My favorite, if you do not have this, you have to have this in your studio. Let me just say, it is an amazing color for, got color under my nails, shading. It's the Decor Fluid Acrylics. They're highly pigmented and transparent for the most part. Just shades beautifully. And you can mix them, okay? So I'm going to get a little bit of my plantation pine on the toe of my brush. Come over here and work that in. Little bit of plantation pine, and I can already tell I need to get a different angle brush because that one is having some issues. That would be me leaving it in the water, which is not good. So a little bit of that plantation pine, a little bit of Payne's Gray, work that in. And I'm going to use that. You can use a 1/2 inch angle. I wouldn't go anything smaller than a 3/8. And we will shade at the base of our cup here. I'm just kind of pull. So the toe has the paint, and that's what's floating that color right along the rim, above the rim of that blue cup and at the base of that green cup. Okay. Now I do think that's a 3/8, but I think I'm going to go up a notch. I think I'm going to go up to the 1/2 inch angle. Sometimes when I use a smaller angle for the area that I'm shading, you just don't get the float of color that you want. So don't be afraid to go up a size or down a size. So I think you'll see a difference with that 1/2 inch angle. Oh yeah. That 1/2 inch angle is going to do a nicer float of color for me there. Right? Much better than with the 3/8. It's just too small for the area I'm working in. Now, when I come down here, I probably am going to, and then for this right here, the mug definitely will switch to back to that 3/8 or a 1/4 inch angle, which I'm looking for right now. The girl is not short on brushes. Let's just say that. So 1/4 inch angle. And I'll load up the same way. So all that paint is just on the toe of the brush. So see how I'm pushing that? Toe of the brush only for that paint. You have a little bit of water in there. You've grown to love the Payne's Gray, Robin. I'm thrilled to hear that. I love Payne's Gray. Okay, so on the handle, I want to use a little bit of that Payne's Gray and Plantation Pine, right where that handle meets the cup. Okay, I'm just going to touch it. If you want to soften it, you can use your finger. You can use a mop brush just to soften out that color. And then let's put that under so you guys can still see the palette, but also see where I'm going to shade. So I'm going to shade on the inside of the handle. That's not coming off. I might need to go up to the 3/8 angle. So that you can see it a little bit better. That's working. Okay, just to get that shading in. Anything you get outside the lines, use your background color. Your background color is a great eraser. All right, it's a great way to take care of any of that that gets outside the line that maybe you miss on the swipe with your brush. All right, I'm going to use that 3/8 angle now. I do, Lucy, I have but I have them as a set. I don't sell them separately. The half, the 3/8, and the 1/4 inch angle, I do have on my website. They're still at the sale price. And if you use HAPPY, all capitals, you can get a discount on them. 20% off, even the sale price. And that ends at midnight tonight. So, all right, so we're going to come in and do a little bit of shading underneath that saucer, the blue one where it meets the green. And again, just kind of soften that along. See how my brush wasn't moving? If you don't have moisture in your brush, it's hard to get that paint to move. So I just added a little bit of moisture to my brush. And we will help that along with our finger. Right to there. Come back again a little bit underneath that saucer, and then I'm going to take that mop and just kind of soften that out. I don't have the mops on my website, but you can get them from the Brush Guys, thebrushguys.com. Let's see if I have right there. I'll pop that up. So these are the Dynasty 400 series. How about if we put that above the link? Mop brushes, super soft, almost like a makeup brush. And you can use that code to get a discount. And they sell in like quantity. So you'll get a really good price from them. Speaking of the old Brush Guys, Jeff and Dave, I did a podcast with them not too long ago. I recorded it, so when it's available, I will let you guys know. All right, so underneath the lip that goes along the top of that green saucer, we want to do a little bit of shading right up underneath it. And that, again, that's that Plantation Pine, a little bit of Payne's Gray. And I tend to do that with whatever the base color is. Hello, helps if you're on camera, Sander. That if you use that base color with the Payne's Gray, there just seems to be a softness to it versus just using the Payne's Gray. So I tend to do that. Okay. Coming in late. Love the textures. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. Hi, Verdi. Glad to see you on. All right. So that is our green for right now. Let's go ahead and do that. I was going to wait till I put the highlight on, but I'll go ahead and put it on now. So again, I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the saucer instead of it just being flat. So I did come around the front of that saucer lip. I want to show you my palette, but it really is just not enough room because I think it's important that you see how I do my brush too. And I'm just going to bring that around. And then once I get over here, again, bring that around so that you get almost like that lip or rim of that saucer, right? Instead of it just being flat. And when we highlight it, it will all come together as well. All right, let's rinse that. No apology necessary, Donna. Glad you're here. Hi, Sylvia. Glad you're here as well. All right, back to that 1/2 inch angle. And we're going to pick up a little bit of peacock teal. And a tiny, tiny touch of Payne's Gray. Again, on the toe of the brush, we'll put that right there. Blend that together. So it's made a darker value of that peacock teal. All right, and we're going to do that right above the green. So down that side and above the green cup at the base of that saucer. And again, just take that mop and kind of soften it out if you want to. It just helps take away any kind of line or harshness. And then let's see, so we're going to go down. I'm just trying to decide how to get my hand out of the way. We'll go down this side of the cup. Again, just kind of soften. And since we're here, we'll go ahead and go down that side of the cup. Now you'll notice this one has 3 cups. The spring design had 4 cups, and it also had a butterfly. I did not add anything to this. And I know when I shared it with you guys, we talked about maybe a ladybug or a snail, someone even suggested, and I thought they were great. I just wasn't feeling it. And so when I'm designing and creating, if I'm not feeling, it just feels forced, and I decided to leave it off. You can add whatever you want, a butterfly, a dragonfly, you know, whatever the case may be. So, all right, so my cup, I can see that line drawing is gonna go right there. And so I'm going to shade that color and see how dark that is. I need to add a little bit more of that peacock teal so it's not so dark. Speaking of, like I said, the podcast I did, I'll have to share that link when I find out when it's going to be on. But the Brush Guys have an amazing podcast, and I will make sure to put it on my page later today so that you guys can check it out. So they interview companies and artists, and I need to go all the way down right to there. And I should get out my line drawing because I'm not exactly sure where that ends, but we're just going to end it right there. It's going to go right to there. Okay, so we've got our cup shaded on those, and then the saucer, again, right up underneath the lip. Switch to a smaller angle brush if you need to. You can use your finger to swipe. Hi, Ellie. I hope you have a wonderful trip to North Carolina. That's where I was born. Camp Lejeune. All righty. So, again, soften it with your finger. That is super dark, and look at that very big line right there. We're going to fix that. A little bit of that peacock teal. I'm just going to soften it. So. And then a mop. I might need to come back in and take a little bit of that away. All right, so again, on the saucer, I want a little bit of that shading so that it leaves a little bit of a lip on the front of that saucer. We'll go there. We'll go there. We'll take care of these cups first and then move on to those leaves and flowers, which are super, super simple. Just layering color because I love to layer. All right, so we've got those. Down here, again, underneath that lip, and I am going to add a tiny touch of Payne's Gray. Hi, Pat from Montana. Good to see you on. And again, thank you guys so much for the stars on Facebook. I know on YouTube, many of you have asked, I know there's like a little $sign at the bottom you can donate, and all that money goes to the World's Central Kitchen to help feed people in, like the Ukraine. I was very impressed when we were in the middle of the pandemic and they were going to hospitals and, you know, nurses and doctors and everybody coming out to be fed. Alrighty, so we'll just soften that. Okay. Hi, Paula. Good to see you on. Loved your pictures from your recent trip with your sister. And we will shade. Hello, Sandy. You know, some days are better for shading than others. And I'm beginning to think that maybe Sundays are not a good shading day. Okay, so got that bottom on. Now I need to shade above, so I'm going to switch brushes. So it got really, really wide. Peacock teal, a little bit of Payne's Gray. Hopefully you can see that there on my palette. It's just on the toe of the brush. Now, this is one of those pieces just like my spring teacups that I did. Remember well, that day I just felt off. Something was weird. This did not feel good. But when your shading and everything gets a little off, if it goes outside the thing, don't fuss. This is one of those projects when I'm painting and designing something like this, I like to stick it in my lap or stick it up against the table, lean it up, hold it back. Kind of hard to do that on the camera. So because it's flat, I might end up getting some things outside those lines that I don't even see. But at the end of it, come back, look at it, see if you need to tweak, fix things up, color correct, and go from there, okay? It's the great thing about paint is it is, seriously, I was gonna say it's movable, and it is movable, especially when you have it on your fingers. So let's get that off. All right, Sandy, let's get this shading on. Peacock teal. So my shading went a little bit high there. I'm just gonna fix it. And believe me, like I will watch some lessons and I'm like, oh my God, I make it look so easy. And you know, some days it's easier than others, especially when it comes to floating color. All right, let's move on from that. When something's frustrating me or aggravating me, I just move to another area. So we're going to move up to the handle on the blue. Pick up a little bit of that peacock teal, a little bit of Payne's Gray. And we're going to do the same thing we did on the green. So right where it meets the cup, a little float of color there. Okay, and then this one as well. something else I always like to remind is if floating isn't your thing and you continually tell yourself that floating isn't your thing or how much you hate floating, when you go to do it, guess what? You've already started off with a, ugh, kind of a, God, I have to shade that color. So give yourself a little pep talk. You know how to shade, you know how to float that color, even if you've never done it before, or if you don't like doing it. It will put you in a different frame and mindset than starting out with, ugh, I don't like to float color. I'm bad at floating color. Well, there are days that you might be bad, but there are other days that you might, love absolutely everything you float on that day. So I'm gonna soften that down here because it, on my original, goes right to that lip of that saucer. And then we'll soften that out. Okay. All right. You know what went wrong? Or wait, let me read this. Thank you, Carol, for the stars. I appreciate that. Henriette said, my daughter always said, you know what went wrong or what not, how you had it in mind, but others who see your art piece don't. I agree, yes. Have you ever used one of those long sticks to make your hands steady? Sylvia, so I have an oil painting. I haven't here because I tend to putter and layer and do things. So I have not. And I'm doing great today because I haven't finished. I've been trying to limit my Diet Coke, but my husband brought me a Diet Coke when he went out earlier and got me packing tape to ship orders. And so I haven't had my caffeine this afternoon, which is good. All right, let's highlight these. So I am going to take, you can do like a rigger or a liner brush. I'm going to use, this is a 5/0 liner. A rigger will work as well. Let's see what that one is, a number 2. Maybe I'll use that. Number 2 rigger with a little bit of warm white. You can see there on the palette to the right. I'm just gonna, it's wet. I'm gonna pick up some warm white and just work that on the brush. And then right along the top of the cups, I'm going to go just below the rim and do color. A little highlight on the handle there. Again here, and I'll go just below the rim of that cup. Same, so see, I haven't had to reload that brush. That rigger will hold a lot of water. Those number 2 riggers, there's a 0, a number 2, a 10/0 that I have on my website. You can always come back, go back over it if you want to brighten it. If you want to brighten it, actually, you could use some titanium white, but I don't want it too bright. So that's why I use the warm white. Okay, let's get those. All right. And then again on the handle, have that. And we're going to dry brush, which is going to help as well. A little there. I will redo that one just a little bit more. Okay, on the saucer. So you see how I'm turning my piece? Because if I try to do this line this way, it's much easier to pull a line this way. So get a little bit more warm white. No energy, nursing bronchitis and drinking honey. Oh, Michelle, I'm so sorry to hear that. And thank you so very much for the stars. I greatly appreciate that. And yes, you did. And I just printed off your order before I came on. So get that shipped out to you tomorrow. All right, so right along the top of that, oops, I can already tell I got too much water. So instead of touching that with my finger, I'm just going to touch it with a paper towel. Okay, let's start down here. I'm going to start right along the rim of that saucer. Go right around there. And then the green one, same thing. And this seems like I shaved it off just a little bit too much right there. So I'm going to wing it. And then if I need to, well, that worked. I say I could come back and add a little bit of that Hauser light green. Right there. And then I like to soften where I start and stop so it doesn't look like a line. And then around the front of that one. And that's stop and start. Okay. Now, where I swiped it with my finger, can you see right there where it got wide? That's where you would just come in with a little bit of your, you know, green color, and you can take away some of that. If it's your shading, you can always come in and add a little bit of that shading right up underneath to thin that line. No need in trying to wipe it off. Just thin it out with whatever your background color is. So that's always kind of my first thing. Ooh, can I use my color around it to act as an eraser? And I am going to do that on this one as well. Let's get a little bit of that. Okay. Now, a little highlight on the cups. You can use a flat brush. You can use a stencil brush. You can use a Mezzaluna. Mezzaluna is my favorite brush to dry brush with. It's just a combination of stiff, and I'm going to get a bigger one so you can see it. Stiff and hard bristles. Works beautifully for dry brushing. They're four different sizes. This is a medium. And I'm going to get some titanium white. You could always use, oh goodness, you can use warm white, but I want it to be a little bit brighter. So either a flat brush like a number 10 or a number 8 or a Mezzaluna. So I think what I'll do is I'll do one with a flat so you can see it, and then one with the Mezzaluna. So you want to load up your brush with titanium white, dry part of your paper towel, wipe it off. Okay. And so we'll do the green one. And I kind of want my highlight to be, you know, like right around here. So swiping of the flat of the brush, no pressure. I don't want to push down. I just want to swipe it and let it skim the surface. So I'll swipe it that way, maybe swipe it that way. Rub it with your finger if you need to. Pick up some more. Thank you, Janie. Well, you're all set then. Oh, thank you, Janet. So do I. And I love Gerber daisies. It's one of my favorite flowers. Okay, but see how that just adds like a little glint of light where the light has hit that cup. Okay, now with the Mezzaluna. So we'll load that up with white, wipe almost all of it off. And then again, dry brush that color on. So a couple little swipes down. Maybe a couple little swipes side by side, side to side. Okay. You can also, you know, if you want to get a little bit more of a highlight on those cup handles, you can do that with the Mezzaluna. Same thing on your saucer. So on this one, because it's more visible, it's exactly what I did. Took that Mezzaluna or the number 10 flat, and I want to pull it in the direction toward that base of that saucer. Okay, so little swipes of that white, and then I'll come in with that 3/8 angle. with some peacock teal on the toe of the brush only. That's the longer part. So a little peacock teal, a little bit of Payne's Gray. Work that in. And then right around here, I want to do like a C stroke. So I'm going to do a little bit of a C stroke here. And a little C stroke there. So a little C stroke there, a little C stroke there. Okay, so see now it looks like that cup is sitting right in that saucer. Okay. Just gonna soften out that. There we go. All right. Now I could sit there and play and, you know, continue to add, you know, some highlights, you know, maybe like on the front of the saucer part that you could see. The one thing I do after every single time I've painted is checking my lights and my darks. Do my highlights go together? You know, do they need to be amped up? Does my shading need to be darker? I see that I could, you know, definitely do a little more shading on that saucer. But we're going to move on. Let's move on to our leaves. All right, and I'm just going to look up at the comments real quick, see if there's anything I've missed. Beauty of this piece after shading and highlighting. Thank you, Pat. You know, isn't it amazing what those two things can do to your piece? So just always love. I just love to paint. Okay, so in here, between our Gerber daisies, it's very dark. And I call this dead space. It is space where light is not getting to. It also helps create that illusion that you have, it's not flat, that you have an arrangement in those cups that have dimension. And so that space really makes an impact. And I'm going to do that with some plantation pine and Payne's Gray. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. All righty. So a little bit of plantation pine, Payne's Gray, and I wanted a little on that darker side. So a little more Payne's Gray than plantation pine. And I just have, I think this is the number 8. I'm just going to come in between these flowers and put in some of that color. Now, if you have a hard time with a bigger brush, just switch to either a liner brush or an angle brush will work great. I'm going to switch actually to this rigger because I think it'll be a little bit easier for me to get up into it. The other thing, remember I said you can use your background color to help you erase things. So like if you have a petal that, you know, is on Miracle Grow and none of the others are, and you need to reduce the size, use your background color. Okay, so get that in there. Turn that. So again, that plantation pine, Payne's Gray, and then just right above that rim of that cup, get that color right in there. A little sliver there. Okay, so it starts adding that dimension and that shape. So since I have that in my hand, that number 2 rigger, I'm going to go ahead and get some plantation pine. I typically don't do my little scroll strokes. Well, I don't do anything with pattern because I draw it out freehand and then do all the elements. Same thing with the little scroll strokes. To me, that adds a little bit of movement to your piece. And so since I transferred those on, they are a little bit wider and you might be able to see the pencil line. So I typically, like I said, don't transfer those on. And if you do, you want to make sure that you lighten them. So just go over them with an eraser to lighten that just a little. That way you don't end up with that harsh transfer line. because I don't want to make them real structured. I want them to flow and just add a little bit of that movement to the piece. It's something I typically will do like last. But since I have that brush, so you're going to push, pull, slide, and lift. Push, pull, slide, and lift. Okay. Touch. You're going to push, pull, gradually lifting up on that pressure, slide to the tip. Push, pull, lift. Much better when you do it fast, believe me. When you go slow, it's a little tricky. And that had a lot of water in it. You see that water just flowed right off of my, so I'm going to wipe that off and show you a trick. When you're loading a brush like this or a liner brush, make sure there's no water on your ferrule because it will bleed right down and do something like that. So I'm going to let that dry and we'll come here, push, pull, lift, push, pull, lift. Push, pull, lift, push, pull, lift. And I say that in my head when I paint it every single time I paint it. I don't know why. Just, I guess it makes it, it just kind of reaffirms in my mind, okay, I know I'm going to put pressure here. And here a push, pull is when I'm gradually lifting up on that pressure. Push, pull, lift. Push, pull, lift. Okay, so get those little scroll strokes in there. All right, so if you're doing it like a daisy stroke, it'd be push, pull, slide, and as you're gradually lifting up on that pressure, see how the handle, let me pull that down. So if I'm here, I'm going to push, pull, slide. The handle of that brush is straight up, right? You guys can see that coming straight at you on the screen. So you want the handle of the brush, if you're back here, it puts too much pressure on the back end of that brush. So it's hard to move. The other thing is if your hand is anchored, this is my range of motion. So I could do one, but it's not going to be as pretty as if I have my hand raised. Use your pinky if you can. And like Sylvia mentioned, that stick to steady your hand, you can always steady it with your other hand. You know, steady it. Push, pull, slide, lift. Okay, you just want it to flow and move and for there to be pressure, lifting up on pressure to no pressure. Okay, that's basically what a comma stroke, a daisy stroke is. So let's see if I messed up anything on the other side since I just laid it down. All right. Molly said, pulling strokes slowly is like trying to ride a bike slowly. You wobble everywhere, right? It's so, so true. It just looks so much better too when you go faster on those strokes. All right, let's do our leaves. So I'm going to use, again, the base is antique green, and I'm going to get out some matcha green. Okay. So a little bit of matcha green. I've got the plantation pine, Payne's gray, warm white, and I am going to get out a little bit of joyful pink, even though I probably won't put it on until after I do the flower. But I did bring some of that pink out onto the leaves. You could do it with orange. You could do it with orange and pink. But bringing that color and transferring it just adds a really pretty harmony to your piece. So remember, take these off your paint. They close much better when you take those things off. Call them goobers or whatever, paint goobers. Alrighty, so let's go right up here. And I'm gonna get out my 3/8 angle. Plantation pine on the toe of the brush. Come over here and work it in. A little bit of Payne's gray. I gotta put my palette down, but I'm working it in on the toe only. Okay, so the heel, that's the shorter side, has nothing on it. And I need to get a different brush because it's the same brush I grabbed, and I need to just throw that one away. That would, like I said, my error because I left it in my water basin. It's not good. Not good. Okay. So Plantation Pine, a little bit of Payne's Gray. You want some water in your brush, just a touch, so that it migrates, but not migrating all the way over to the heel of the brush. So when you have two things that touch, of course, you know, you're going to separate those. Plantation Pine, Payne's Gray on the toe of that angle brush. And right along the base of this leaf, I'm going to float that darker color. Okay, so the toe has the color. It's right at the edge of that leaf. And once you lay that in, just kind of softly walk that brush up, bring up some of that color. And then if you want to soften it, just soften it with a mop. Same thing here. We'll put that right at the base of that leaf, right between those leaves. Soften that out. I'm going to do all my dark, kind of assembly line it. Come up here. Where it meets those petals, we definitely want to get that toe right down in between those petals, but we don't want it to look like we did that. And then right up that edge. And again, we'll soften that out. Got immersed in your mixed media collage video. Hi, Judy. You're not familiar with the stick you're talking about. Oh, well, Bev, there is a stick that you can find. If someone sees it, maybe they can pop it into the link, a link into the comments. But basically, to keep your hand above your surface. So, oh, I just realized I missed shading on my saucer. We'll come back to that. But it helps steady your hand so that you can go in with fine detail. And because, you know, when you plant your wrist, your range of motion is just cut into, you know, nothing. So when you have that full range and you're resting it on like a yardstick, but it has like a little soft end to it, so that if you put it on your piece, it's not going to hurt your canvas or whatever it is that you're painting on. But I have arthritis as well, mostly in both hands, but my right hand specifically, which is my painting hand. So when I start to feel like it's tired or I've been painting too long, I tend to brace with my other hand. So, all right, so at the base of that leaf, again, we have that plantation pine. Now let's come back over here and we'll put a little bit of that shading where that flower meets the leaf, soften it out. And then right here, plantation pine, Payne's Gray on the toe of the brush. Hopefully not giving you guys whiplash. I just always try and make sure that my hand is out of the way so that you can see it, because that doesn't do anything for you, does it? You can't see what I'm doing. So try and get my hand out of the way. And then just soften that. Again, right along there. So that's that base of the leaf. And then where those petals meet the leaf. Okay, so see how my brush isn't moving very well? It's because I have no moisture in that brush. Let's soften that. Okay, let's turn that around. A dowel, yes. And so that works too. It's a maul, yes, M-A-H-L. Thank you so much, Janet. Or a bridge. I've seen those too, where there's plastic that you can lay down. I'm all for whatever you can use to steady your hand or make painting more enjoyable. So, you know, if you have arthritis, if you need something to steady your hand, definitely look into those things. Don't just give up and not paint. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to let that set for a second, and I'm going to come down here with that liner brush and pick up a little bit of Payne's Gray. This is another thing that's going to add some dimension to your piece. So when you put, and that liner brush might be a little too thin. Nope, it'll work. Just needed more paint. Right here, tiny little bit of that Payne's Gray. And that is where the cup is open and will help set that other cup above it into the cup below it. Again, just adds that element of dead space. Oh, Sandy. Sandy, Sandy, Sandy. Okay. I'm just going to come back in with some warm white because I went over the line. All right, let's come back up to our leaves. So again, that helps put that cup inside the other cup instead of having it just flat. Okay. All righty. So I am going to use, and you can use whatever color on the leaves. You know, I love matcha green and citron green. That Hauser green light's beautiful. But I use some matcha green and warm white for my highlight. So first, before we do the highlight, we want to come to that center vein back with our angle brush. So plantation pine, a little bit of Payne's Gray. I'm using a compression glove for arthritis. Yes, I have one of those somewhere, and I've been prepping for the Society of Decorative Painters event. So been prepping 75 surfaces, and man, my carpal tunnel kicked in yesterday big time, and I've got to find my brace. No clue where it's at. Alrighty, so just that initial little center vein, I'm going to put that in, and we have other veins on these leaves that I put on, and so we'll put one there, and my brush is flat. You can start from the base or you can start from the tip, whatever works best for you. And that was nothing but Payne's Gray, very, very dark. So let's just soften that, and look how pretty that is. Soften it with your finger. If you are going to the SDP event in Vegas next month, leave in the comments to let me know. And if we've not met, please come see me at, I'm doing a DecoArt special event, but I'm also going to be in the DecoArt booth sharing some amazing products and new products, which will be fun. Okay, so that initial stem vein right down the center. Okay. And we'll rinse that. Oh, and Sheila Vesper said you can probably go to YouTube or somewhere else. It'll tell you how to make one of those sticks with a dowel stick and a rubber end. So it's kind of small, but you could make one. Same thing. Okay. Alrighty. Same brush, 3/8 angle, a little bit of matcha green and some warm white on the toe of my brush. Well, Sandy, did you put it? This is what I'm talking about. See how it went on the whole brush? Let's get it where it'll focus. So you can just pinch that end off, or you can rinse it out. But we just want it on the toe of the brush. A little bit of matcha green, a little bit of warm white, and we are going to float this color. Now, if you put a color on, you're like, ooh, that's just too bright, I'm not liking that color combo, just go to the color that you put on the base of your leaf. So like antique green. I just want to show you, because a lot of times when I paint my design, I don't wash my brush, and so there might still be a little bit of that base color in there, but it will help just make the transition a little bit smoother with that base color, a little bit of that highlight color. Let's mop that out. And will dry brush on my leaves because I think that adds great texture. But I just want to get a little bit of a highlight. Again, that's matcha green, warm white, and if you want to soften that look at all, you can add a little touch of antique green to your brush. Or when you're base coating it, you can always just go straight into your highlight and add your highlight first. Okay. So I typically do not wash my brush. I'll just wipe it off. So that color might be in there and transfer, even though I didn't load it on my brush. All right. Pick up a little bit more of that right on that highlighted side of that leaf. And look, camera, Sandy, on the camera. See how light, my light touch and pressure. You just want that brush to move, okay? If you're stiff, it's gonna be stiff here. So just kind of loosen up, lighten up on your touch, get that highlight on there. Alrighty. All right. I was just looking to see if there's roll a hand towel. Oh, that's good. Janet said you can even roll a hand towel and place it under your arm near your wrist. Yeah, whatever helps you hold that brush better, move that brush better. Definitely look into that. So again, I'm just gonna add a little bit there. We will soften that out. Okay, now I did something a little different with these leaves than I normally do. So we're gonna do this part and then we'll come in and add those other little veins. But I am gonna dry brush. So I'm gonna get my medium or small Mezzaluna brush and pick up some of that that matcha green, a little bit of warm white, just like I had, but this time I'm going to add a little bit more warm white, and I just want to wipe it off. And I love Gerber daisies, and I love their leaves, so there's just that little bit of a highlight, and we'll put a little bit over there, a little bit of a highlight. Again, this just adds, I love the texture that Mezzaluna brush or dry brushing gives. So, and I probably won't need to reload my brush because I just want a soft little subtle swipe of color. Now, when you do that, if you're like, and I'm going to do it on purpose, let's do it right here because I think that'll be best. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Now, that's almost too bright, although I think it looks pretty. Let's do another one that's maybe a little too bright. Oh, that one's pretty too. Okay, what I was going to say was you can come back with your base color. So in this case is that antique green. And if you have a highlight that's too bright, brush over it with your base color. That will help tone down that highlight, make it not so in your face. And with that antique green, you're going to get a little tint of yellow, which is pretty. So I did not do that on my original, but again, when those things present themselves, I'd love to be able to share those with you. Okay, so let's rinse that out. And I'm going to come in with my, my angle brush, a little bit of plantation pine, tiny touch of Payne's gray on the toe only. Work it in. Work it in. Okay, and we are going to do little veins that go kind of like in an S. So it's an S stroke. So let's come here. So, you know, an S stroke, let's get a little more paint. You know, an S stroke you're probably familiar with is like that. this is very similar. You're going to start along that edge. The toe is down, and it's just a slight little movement of the wrist to get that tiny little stroke on. Oh, and see, that was the wrong direction. Let me go right here. And then I just like to touch it with my palm or my finger to get that to soften out. Okay, this is on the shaded side, so I'm not going to worry about that one too much. So more paint. Again, the toe that has the colors down. And everything's going toward the base of that leaf. Plantation pine, a little bit of Payne's gray. A little one there. Okay, I'll do the same thing on this side. So about 3 or 4 on each side. Okay, so see how that paint's not coming off? Because my brush is dry. You can even see it. Sister, I have to go. Headaches. Oh, Henriette, I'm so sorry. Totally understand those. Not fun. So I hope it goes away and you feel better. Okay, so a slight little curve down. And we'll go do the other sides. I was trying to minimize how many times I had to turn the piece, but alrighty, let's see what we got. Now, I didn't go to the trouble of putting a highlight on the other side of those. You definitely could. I didn't want to make too much of it. So I always feel like, you know, while the leaves are pretty, they're kind of a supporting role to our flower. But once you do a little bit of that highlighting and then get your leaf on, that's when you can come in and do a little bit more strategic highlighting. So I'm going to go to my small mezzaluna and get a little bit of matcha green and warm white or titanium white if you want it brighter. Wipe it off on a paper towel. And then that's where you can, you know, come in a little bit more strategically in these sections and add a little highlight. Load that up. Move my paper towel over. There we go. Okay, you'll still want to leave, you know, like your darks. Oop, I forgot that side. Hello. You know, don't make that side as bright as that side. You can have a little bit of a highlight there, but you want your highlighted side to be brighter, or it just makes it flat. So definitely, you know, watch that when you're adding your lights and highlights, that you still have that shape and dimension because of that light and dark. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a little there. Come in with that angle brush. Okay. So, and again, you can adjust the highlights and everything as you need or want. I need to fix that leaf. It is a little misshapen. And it is on my original, but I don't know why it's sticking out to me right there. I'm just going to fix that up just a little. Okay. Oh, thank you, Pat. Okay, so that one's really sticking out now. I'll show you what I'm talking about on my my original. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it like that because I do like. It was just looking off, but I do like that it's kind of a loop and a loop and a loop, and so we'll leave it. Alrighty, rigger or liner brush, and we're going to take some plantation pine along that darker side of the leaf and just come up with a little line of color, accentuate that if you need to. I went over that R, which is fine. We'll fix that up or leave it, because even though it's not on my original, that's my #1 rule in painting. If you like it, leave it. And I love layers. I love that it looks like it's, you know, summer is underneath right there. But again, you can fix up your veins, your stem, down the center vein with that same color, okay? I see in my original that the leaves are a little bit lighter. Again, just go back to your colors on your palette. You know, matcha green, a little bit of warm white or titanium white. And you can always beef up that color, brighten it up a little bit more, okay? And then the pink. So that joyful pink, I am going to take my angle brush, rinse it out, and I'm going to pick up, so this is like a wash, a little bit of joyful pink, and just work it in. It doesn't matter if it gets everywhere, but I don't want to put it everywhere. I just want to put it here and there. Okay, so just, and it looks really pretty when you hit that lighter spot, like that highlighted spot, a little touch of that pink. And I can't believe I haven't used my heat tool one time. Let's dry that real quick. Oh, thanks, Melissa. I totally agree. I'm, as y'all see every time I paint with you, that I love using my fingers. I will say most of it is because I'm too lazy to put down my brush and pick up a mop or another brush. But I also do think it does exactly what Melissa just put in the comments, that it does add a little bit of a softness and stuff you don't get, you know, doing it any other way. Alrighty, so I'm gonna leave those. Again, I could brighten them up. They're looking very dark on camera to me. They're not that dark. And then I'm gonna take my number, let's see, let's get a number 12. And I'm gonna rinse that out. Actually, I think I'll do a 10. I'm gonna rinse that to get some white. So I didn't want a whole bunch of splatter, but I did like the splatter on the leaves. So my number 10 with white, come here and work that in. See how inky it is? So more water, touch of paint. Have to have that water to get that paint to come off that brush. And then you're gonna take a brush, handle, handle, middle of the handle, middle of the handle. If you're here, it doesn't work so great. If you're here, it will work much better. So I'm gonna go ahead and splatter those on the leaves. Rinse my brush, and while it's wet, you have to do it while it's wet, is I want to clean up wherever I don't want any splatter. So I don't want any splatter on my flowers that we've not painted yet, because I don't want that texture to be below. And that one right there is huge, so I'm going to take it away. Okay, now to soften that splatter, I'm going to take a dry paper towel. And touch it. Donna said, very pretty, Sandy. You're a coffee drinker. I'm a coffee drinker, but I do love my tea. I love a good cup of tea in the evening, usually chamomile and honey and So I don't want that splatter anywhere else. Just a little bit up there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take care of the pink Gerber daisy. So with that, I used, again, Joyful Pink. Move these out of the way. I've got all these colors right on top of everything. So I'm going to use Joyful Pink, a little bit of Payne's Gray, Titanium White, and get that out of the way there. Some Hauser Green, Hauser Light Green, which we have. And so I am going to go ahead and take that color and a small flat. Let's get that one. Oh, thank you, Brenda. Yes. Are they real refined? No. But I love that painterly look. And I think that a lot of that has to do with my finger. And a lot of that has to do with the fact too that when I'm painting with you guys, something that maybe I would refine holding it up closer or on an easel or on something, I really don't have that luxury to continually, you know, hold it up like this. You guys won't see anything, right? But I do like that painterly look. Less perfect. It leaves itself to look a little more natural than cookie cutter. And that's what I'm all about too. So, alrighty, so we got that Hauser light green, and we're going to leave it for now. I'm going to use a number 4 flat. Let's see. You can use, my least favorite brush is a filbert. But you could use a filbert for those rounded ends. I typically will just use a flat brush because I like that I could get a round end, but I also like that I could get a tip or a corner if I wanted to, you know, like a sharper corner. When you're base coating those on, what I did is I added a little bit of warm white to get that initial color on there. And right now I'm just going over areas that I got into my petal with my background color, with those leaves. And I'm just going to hit them one more time with that Joyful Pink, little touch of warm white, which is going to make it more opaque. And bring those right over that cup, right on top of that leaf. See, I lost that because and all the Gerber daisies are done exactly the same way. Okay, so get that pink. Those are a little more pointed because the angle of my brush, so that's why I turned it, get a little bit more of a rounded tip. All right, let's dry that. Tea Honey Mango Citron. Ooh, that sounds really, really good. Michelle, what brand is that? I'm gonna have to look into that. All right, let's see here. Get my number 4 brush back out. It's still a little warm. I'm going to leave it for a second. Payne's Gray and that Joyful Pink will make almost like a color like a quinacridone violet. Really, really pretty. So I want to get my angle brush. Let's rinse that out. Oh, goodness me. And I want to do a little bit of shading. All right, so a little bit of that Joyful Pink, little touch of Payne's Gray, and let's move that. You'll share the info in the group. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. There's that same angle brush. All right, guys, I'm going to throw this across my room because I've grabbed it every single time. All right, so I need a 1/4 inch angle. All right, there. A little bit of Joyful Pink, a little bit of Payne's Gray. Not too much Payne's Gray. I just want that color a little bit darker. And we're going to do that at the where 2 petals meet. Now, we're going to I'll add more shading later. So I'm not too fussed if this is pretty. I just want to separate where petals are. Let me see. I just saw someone's question. Oh, thank you, Patrick. How are things over there in France? Okay, at the base of the petals, right on the other side. Because on those Gerber daisies, what I love, love, love are the petals and then those little tiny petals that are just on the other side of the flower center. So you can see I'm just doing a kind of a little motion like that with my brush. So at the base of those petals, joyful pink, little touch of Payne's gray, and I'm working that into my brush right there. Too much Payne's gray, a little bit more joyful pink, and then I'm just going to move my little runway. Okay. So I'm all about giving myself shape and guidelines. So if I start to lose something, I will kind of jump back and forth with my highlights and my shading to, you know, kind of get that center in, the base of those petals, ground them. It just helps me see the shape better and, you know, where I want to go with it. So a little shading between the petals. Need to get a little bit of water, just a touch. You're not working tomorrow, so you can watch for a change. Well, that's nice. What time is it there in France right now? Is it 6 hours ahead, 5 hours ahead? Interested to know. Alrighty. Now, like I said, we're gonna shade this, but I will come back in and add a little bit darker shading when I do my petal colors. Alrighty. Now let's go back to that number 4. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of double loading on our brush. So I'm going to pick up on my number 4 flat, a little bit of that joyful pink. Okay. And on one corner of the brush, so just one, a little bit of titanium white, and just kind of flatten your brush. Now, we're not going to use it flat. So if you want to, you can kind of sit on the corner here and get it ready to go and sit on the corner there, but I always blend it first. All right, so we're going to blend that first. Very little pressure. I'm going to sit at the tip of the petal. I'm going to push, pull, lift, push, pull, lift. Very little pressure. Push, pull, lift, push, pull, lift. And I can already see I've wiped off too much of that white. So I've got that joyful pink on one side. Oops, too much white, Sandy. I'm going to keep going. I like that streaky look. I like the way it streaks through. And don't fret or worry if you have it too light. Like I can already tell this is a little more white than I want. I'll show you how to make it a little bit more detailed, but still painterly. So joyful pink on the whole brush, a little titanium white on one corner. And you're going to touch, pull, touch, pull. So I'm not touching and pushing and pulling. It's very light pressure. Touch, pull, touch, pull. And then make sure you curve that brush with the curve of the petal. Okay, so like here, and curve it. Okay. But you just get that, just those little streaks that it's hard to get. I mean, other than putting them in with a liner brush. Get that really pretty, streaky petal look. Okay, so just like that. Now what I am going to do is rinse out that brush, and I'm going to take a liner. Hello. Take my liner and throw it on my palette. Hi, Joyce. Cindy said, You're not separating each petal? Not right now, but I will, Debbie. I will separate each petal. I was reading Cindy's thing. She said it's hard to comment on the road, all the bumps and stuff, and I totally get that. All right, so let's come to, I'm using, this is a 5/0 detail liner. I'm going to pick up some of that Joyful Pink. Okay, so get a little bit of that, a little bit of water in there to get that to come. We want it to slide right off the brush. And what I can do is, I want this motion, very, very light touch. Okay, so I can, if you get it, this is what I was talking about, if it's too white and you want to add a little bit of the detail lines back in, you can definitely do that with a liner brush. Same thing with white. And my dark is actually pretty good, so I'm going to go to the titanium white. And again, that motion is very thin lines, and you want a very light, loose grip on that brush. Ooh, swipe that across my paper towel. So if you have them too dark, put some white lines on it. If you have them too light, put some dark lines on it. Okay. And then the darker shading we're going to do is really going to separate those even more. Okay. So we'll rinse that. I'll go back to my 1/4 inch angle. 7 a.m. in Brisbane, Yvonne. Wow, yes, so it's Monday, right? All right, so go back to my 1/4 inch angle. A little bit of Joyful Pink, a little bit of Payne's Gray, and this is where I want to come in and separate these a little bit more. Not so much water. So you can see when you paint those, and if you can't, then you can just kind of improvise that what petal is going to be on top. So like this right here, this shading, just put that petal on top of that petal, right? So kind of look at it in the way you have it already painted, and even if it's not like the original, again, I'm all about taking a little bit of creative liberty to separate and use what I've painted instead of, oh, that's not like my original. I got to make that petal on top. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, see all that water coming off? So little Joyful Pink, tiny touch of Payne's Gray. Sorry, I've got to, I realized, and I'll show you because I realized what I was doing. I was loading my brush here. Well, guess what that is? That's very inky paint. I have to go into my heavy paint and my heavy paint, okay? It's like, where's all that water coming from? I was using paint that had a lot of water in it. Oop, soften that out. And then, since we pulled that light color, if you need to darken up that shading at the base of the petals again, definitely do that. And I like a really good float of shaded color. And like I mentioned, all the Gerber daisies are painted exactly the same way, just different colors. I probably won't do those just so that we can get all the little pieces and parts in. Again, it's all in the ePacket with the colors I used, the supply list. And then we will just we'll adjust those petals and highlights when we get that center ring in. So the very center of the flower, again, I have that Hauser light green. I'll let that dry. And then I'm going to come here with my number 4, pick up some Joyful Pink, a little bit of that Payne's Gray, just to make it darker. And I'm just going to tap it. So just right on the corner, tap those, that row of petals in. I don't want to paint it because I want these to be uneven. I will tell you what colors I used on the yellow and on the orange. But again, since they're painted the same way, no need for me to show you that. Okay, and so I'm just going to uneven these petals on the inside. And I don't mind that, look at how it got on that green. I don't care, that's fine. Okay, now on those petals that are on the inside of that Gerber daisy, again, absolutely love those tiny, tiny little petals. They don't have a lot of detail. They're very, very tiny. And did I say tiny? They're tiny. So that was Joyful Pink and a little bit of white. And now I'm going to come back with Joyful Pink and a little bit of Titanium White. And you can dot it like this on the corner of that brush. You can slide if you wanted to get, you know, something a little bit more petal-like. You can just slide on the chisel edge. But I like this method of just tap, 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 tap. Right on the corner of that brush. Just like that. Okay. Thank you. Hi, Janet. So you switched over from Facebooks. Let's see. Oh, from YouTube to Facebook. Okay. Now let's go back to the center again. So I'm going to come in with that Hauser light green and just tap that in. Before I do any more to those little petals, I want to get that center done. We'll dry that. Okay. And then let's do a little bit of a highlight in the center. So that Hauser light green with a little bit of titanium white. I have a Mezzaluna brush. You can use that same number 4 and work that in. Dry it off really well on a dry piece of your paper towel. And just kind of dry brush it right in the center there. Okay, so a little bit of a highlight there in the center. And then we're going to take that angle brush with some Plantation Pine, tiny touch of Payne's Gray. So Plantation Pine, tiny touch of Payne's Gray, work that in on the toe of that brush only. And we want to take that toe, and again, instead of going around in a half circle, push that toe into that center. Those little petals so that they kind of jet out, jet in, jet out, jet in. We're just going to float a little bit of that color right at the base. Oh, and I do have a little bit up here. And then in the center, just to make it, again, dimensional, little bit of a C stroke. So just paint a little C. Right there. And then I'm going to either use my finger, which always takes away too much on that. So you can use a mop brush just to soften it. Okay. I remember when I would watch like Priscilla Hauser on the Carol Duvall show, and she would do something like that. And I'm like, it just came to life. Like, how pretty is that? Okay, going back to my number 4, I'm going to pick up some of the Joyful Pink, a little bit of white, and I am going to come back in and I'm going to mess up anywhere I feel like it's too straight. Okay, and then I just flipped my brush over where I have a little bit more of that white, but we're going to brighten it even more because we want that to stand out. So come back to whatever angle brush, if you want to use like a 1/4 inch angle, a liner brush, a rigger, and I'm going to pick up some white and work that in on my palette. And I just want to tap randomly, and then I'm just going to lightly touch it. Try to move your wrist and your hand so that you don't end up with a pattern. So if you're doing the same thing with your brush, you're going to get a pattern. Whereas if you're random, skipping up, down, middle, all right, so you get a little bit of that highlight on there. And then I'll pick up a little bit more. And on some of these petals, I did want there to be a little bit brighter highlight. So I can come in like for a petal here. Let me see. Yeah, on my original, it's like that. I could do, you know, that little slight outline without it looking outlined. Okay, we don't want to outline these petals, but, and then brighten up any kind of line. Like that petal doesn't have anything. Hello. Some of those got nothing. They're dark. These little things on the end of a liner brush drive me crazy. I know they're there for a reason, like the tiniest detail, but they certainly get in the way. Okay, now with this, the fix, if you get it too bright, too light, just go back to your base color, which is Joyful Pink. Okay, so see how that changes the petals? Hopefully you can see the difference between those that have nothing and those that have a little bit of detail to them. And again, a little bit more shape. Having that brush bring those petals in. And adding those little detail lines. All right, so same thing on the, I'll put this down here. On the yellow, I did bright yellow and warm white for my base. You can see my shading is some asphaltum. In the center, that is asphaltum with a little bit of a highlight. Those, because it's in the back, I didn't add too many lines or details. All right. And then the orange one is orange flame, and then bright orange with some titanium white pulled on it, just like I did the pink one. All right, and then same thing, little detail lines with your warm white. If it's too bright, just do a wash of your bright orange over it. Same thing in the center. And then for this center, because when you look at Gerber daisies, there's some that have a green, like a pop of really Jolly Rancher bright green. I love those. But I also saw some that had like brown centers, more of a yellowy center. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, is give you 3 different centers. So saffron yellow, bright yellow, a little bit of warm white, but exactly the same way painted. And again, look at the difference. No detail lines, right? So fun. All right, we have 2 things to do here, and then I'm going to call it a day. We'll go ahead and do summer, and I'm going to take my 3/8 angle. Let's see where that is, and do a little bit of shading. So some asphaltum is what I used for the shading around the letters. A little bit of that out. And so on the toe of that 3/8 angle, you can see there on the right of the screen, I just have a little bit of that asphaltum on the toe of the brush. Work that in. And I just shaded right around these letters. Just float that color. Again, just to lift them and pull them away from that background a little. It's those little touches that I think take it to the next level. My U got a little bit big there. And when that happens, when you base coat, a lot of times if you go over it a second or third time, you tend to get a little bit big. If it bothers you, just take your background color and erase it. Okay, so again, the toe of that brush has the color. It's good to do this, like get your word on and then do this and then base coat. That way, if you get it on your, got a hair tickling me on my arm. If you get into your letter, then it won't mess it up, you know, if you go over it a second time or even before you have any color on it. So put your word on, base coat it one time with whatever it is you're gonna, I used warm white, and then do your shading, and then another coat of warm white. Okay, I already have 2 coats on here just for time. I went ahead and put 2 coats on. All right, but look at the difference, like on that S versus very wimpy floating is what I call it. So a little wimpy floating that I've got going on here is not helping that letter at all. So we will get those a little bit better shaded. Okay. And then again, if you go over it, you can always come back with your warm white or whatever color it is you have and fix it up. What I wanted to do on these was give it a little bit of color. So on that 3/8 angle or 1/4 inch angle, a little bit of the matcha green or the Hauser light green, and just very lightly float that color on the bottom third of those letters. Okay. And it's better to put a very light layer, and then if you want to darken it at all, to come back in and darken that with a second layer. Okay. And if you go outside the lines, take care of it then, or come back with your background color and use it as an eraser. But the toe that has the color is down, and I'm just loosely floating that on the bottom third of those letters. Okay, just to add a little bit of interest. And that needs a little bit more, the S, since it's so big. I'll just add a little bit there. And again, you don't want any kind of a harsh line. You just want it to gradually go right up into the letter. So if you need to soften it on the other side of your float, you definitely can do that. Okay. Now, that's the letters. You do the same thing for T at the bottom, But let's do some cast shadows and then we're going to call it done. So I'm back to my number 4 flat, water in my brush, little touch of Payne's Gray and work that in. And I always test it first. So grab a piece of paper, test it to see if it's too dark. And we're going to shade and float on these little cast shadows here and there. I love these. I think it takes your piece to the next level and makes it stand up and away, almost like, you know, trompe l'oeil. There was something down here I missed. That shading right there. So I'm going to fix it. Just needs to be separated from that saucer. Okay. So I typically will use the Payne's Gray to do the cast shadows. You can always use a darker shade, like this is Oyster Beige. You could go a shade darker. You could use Asphaltum, but for some reason, I don't know, I tend to go to Payne's Gray. I think it just is a more natural shadow color. Right over that saucer and everything, because that shadow would be right on top of that rim on the saucer, everything. Under the leaves, come away from it, and then to it. So we'll do one right here. So right at the leaf, but then come away from it with the tip. And look how that makes that leaf cast a shadow on the background. Again, just lifts it up. I didn't do it for the, well, did I? It doesn't look like I did, but I'm going to show you. You can come up underneath these little curls, these little strokes. Again, to lift it up off that background. A little bit there, there. Down here with the saucer, same thing. Go right over that T. A little under that saucer. There and there. On my spring one, I have like a little, almost like it's a little tabletop with a little line. I didn't do that on my original, but you certainly could put, you know, a little swipe of that to give the illusion that there's, you know, kind of a tabletop there. The other place I added those cast shadows was where that flower petal meets my cup. Nope, getting into that wimpy float, Sandy. It's very light. Okay, so again, just those petals casting a shadow right onto that cup. And then, as always, every single time I finish a painting, evaluating my lights and my darks. Does anything need to be adjusted? And yes, to answer your question, there are things that need to be adjusted. But what I wanted to share and show you guys today, how easy it is to get that dimensional look with the stenciling. The really pretty veining on those leaves that I typically don't do. How and what a big difference, how much and what a difference those tiny little detail lines make on the petals, and that shading that just adds like that pop of color. One thing I'm seeing that I want to bump up just a little, and I'll do it right now so I can show you, is I want to get that highlight in the center of that Gerber daisy a little bit brighter. So a little bit of that matcha green and a little bit of titanium white, just to brighten that up. Okay, All right. So let me come back up to here and just see. I love cash shadows. If you're in my membership group, you're probably tired of cash shadows, right? But I love them. I love the way it makes it separate from the background, stand up. And again, to me, it just kind of takes it to the next level. So kind of got a little wacky, weird hair thing going on. So, all right, so there is the finished one, the Gerber daisies. Again, the orange, the yellow, painted exactly the same way, just different color combinations, which I told you guys about. And yeah, loving that. Loving that, loving that. Second in my series for the teacup, stacked teacup series, the fall and winter will be out soon. The fall, I think, might have something different, but I'll share that with y'all soon. But next Sunday, which is the 17th, I'm going to jump on and do a fun little mixed media thing or product thing with you guys. I can't decide. I have two things done, but I can't decide what it is I'm going to do. So I'll post it this week when I share that. But next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Sunday in the studio with me. We'll do something fun and quick, probably 45 minutes to an hour most. Janet, thank you. I never tire of cash shadows either. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Have a fantastic week. Do not forget that I have a sale going on right now on my website. I'm going to pop this up. There's my website, sandymcteerdesigns.com. And if you put in promo code HAPPY, all capitals, happy, you'll get 20% off everything, to include sale items, to include $5 ePackets, which I have on there. I love your product classes. Thanks, Molly Ann. I'm dying to share the Impasto paints with you guys. So we'll have to see if I'm going to do those next week or not. I have a cool little quick landscape I thought about sharing with y'all. So let me know that. Let me know that in the comments. Are you interested in seeing and learning about the Impasto paints and doing a quick little landscape that you could do with paints that you have, or the Impasto paints, which are amazing, or a mixed media piece? So, hi, Elena. Elena, are you going to be in Vegas next month? Let me know. Let me know. I love your mixed media also. Thank you so much, guys. And I did notice on YouTube, guys, when I've gone back like to try and answer y'all's questions, you can't do that on the chat because it's already done. So for whatever reason, if I don't answer your question, maybe pop over to Facebook and see the answer there. Or just message me. Just message me if you have any questions at all. Impasto paints. Impasto. Good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I've done a bunch of videos for Deco Art and I have more to go. So, all right. Have a fantastic week. Get out those brushes. My sign says it. Nope. Wrong way, Sandy. Get out those brushes. Preferably your Dynasty brushes. And that paint. And do something creative this week. I always tell my members in my group, even if you're not feeling like it, but you want to do something, you're not sure where to start, gesso a page. Take out a surface you have and base coat it with white. That action leads to you getting motivated to create, okay? Believe me, I do it all the time. I have to. So, all right, have a wonderful day. Have a fantastic week. Take care of yourself. Be happy. Don't forget that promo code till midnight tonight on my website is HAPPY, all capitals, all right? Y'all have a good one. Thanks for being here and watching. Sharon, and I will be back next Sunday, and I'll announce the winners for our giveaways then.